Hello everybody, Mr. Storm here. Welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. In the last episode, we performed the second burn with the longbow to get that on its rendezvous course with Duna. So took care of that, and then advanced time for the unmanned probe to reach Duna, the Duna Sphere of Influence, and then basically burned its entire supply of fuel, performing various orbital maneuvers to get as much science as possible out of that probe. You know, from high Duna orbit, from low Duna orbit, from high Ike orbit, from low Ike orbit, all that sorts of stuff, and got a big pile of science that I was able to use to unlock our scanning tech. And then went ahead and designed a new probe, well, a new satellite that we're going to be putting in moon orbit to scan for resources. I mean, we could also probably put one in Minmus orbit, but the moon is really what I am worried about right now. Now, when I put this fairing on here, it was kind of clipping the corners of the scanning antenna. I was able to figure out how to manually manipulate the procedural fairing to make it a different shape so that it no longer clips. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but just for visual aesthetics, went ahead and took care of that. So I think we're ready to just go ahead and launch this thing, get it into orbit, and get it over to the moon. Put it in a polar orbit around the moon so it can begin its scanning procedure. And we needed to get it, I did the calculations, and it needs to be between 100 and 200 kilometers in altitude from the moon in order to function properly. So that's what we're going to be aiming for. Alright, so let's go ahead and put this guy on the pad and get ready to launch. And I'm going to attempt something here. Oh, first off, I need to check MechJeb, make sure it's not going to interfere with my launch. Ascent guidance, make sure that the limit Q is off. Okay, good. Because that causes, that still takes effect even when you're not actually using the autopilot. Oh, I need to make sure that this is actually going to be on that stage. There we go. Okay. Now, I want to make sure that the moon is going to be in the right position. And the right position is just when the moon is starting to rise. So, see, there we are, and it's basically going to be right when Kerbal Space Center is right at that particular point. Right when the moon is about to rise. Can we see it yet? Is it visible in the sky? It should be right on the horizon. Okay, yeah, it should be there. All right. So, I think you can just barely see it there. All right. So I'm going to try and do the launch, and moon transfer orbit all in one continuous burn. We'll see if I can make that happen. Otherwise, this is going to be a failed probe and we'll have to launch another one. So be it. Alright. Throttled up. And let's get this baby off the pad. There's the moon. Okay, good. I may have let this go a little bit too long, but we should be alright. Uh-oh. 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 I pushed that too far over. Actually, that might be fine. Nope, now we're tipping over. Oh. Well, that didn't quite work, but I'm still going to try and get this done. Because I should still be able to make it work. What I need to do is just point it at the moon and just thrust towards the moon. There, we have our moon encounter. Alright, let's get rid of that fairing. Alright, let's just get above the atmosphere. There we are. Okay. Let's see. Do we still have that encounter with the moon? We do. Okay, good. Good. Excellent. Alright, with 307 meters per second left in the... Let's see, where is this orbit going to put things? It's going to put things there, okay. I'm going to go ahead and detach. Oh, I'll make sure we extend the solar panels and the antennas. There we go. Detach. Engage this. Alright, let's flip this guy around. .300 meters per second. I don't think it's going to be enough. Alright, it has put itself on a collision orbit. Good. Alright, so now we just need to get to the moon's sphere of influence and begin preparing the next set of maneuvers. So let's warp there. This goes to show just how over-designed that rocket is, that I had all those problems during launch and still was able to get the trajectory I wanted. Okay, time warp done. Alright, now I want to push this into a polar orbit. So, I want to add a maneuver here at some point. And I want to push this into a polar orbit like that. That should be good enough. Is the altitude good enough? No, the altitude is not good enough. I need that to be over 100. There's good. 150 is fine. Alright, it's going to be 454 meters per second. Oh, now we're like way off. Okay. Okay, so that is more along the lines of what I need right there. Okay, there we go. 532 meters per second in Delta V. That's not bad. We have 2,200 meters per second, which should be plenty. Okay, so it is going to be a 20-second burn. 20-second burn in 7 minutes. So we want to start a burn at 10 seconds to the node. I wish I could tell this to hold the node, but I have to kind of just do it manually here. All right, 4, 3, 2, 1 minute. All right. And burn. And off. Okay, how does it look? It looks pretty decent. It should be good enough. Yes. All right. Add maneuver. Need a circularization burn. There. To bring that down there. And right about there. 598.7 meters per second. Okay. It's going to be a 19-second burn in 38 minutes. All right, let's warp there. Alright, we have a little over A little under 3 minutes. Alright, let's get down to around 20 seconds to go. And then we begin our burn in... there. A little overdid it, but it should be good enough. We're missing both those orbits, so no potential collisions, and both apoapsis and periapsis are in the range I need. Perfect. All right, there we go. Deploy the scanner. All right, so I should be able to toggle the overlay here. I hit the resource. Resource. Dirt. Oh, I need to perform an orbital survey. Do that. There we go. Scan for resource loads. Okay. So that's dirt, that's exotic minerals, gypsum, hydrates, carbonite, carborundum. Okay. Liquid He3. I don't see any of that. None there. Metallic ore. Minerals. Monazite. Rare metals. Regolith. Silicates. Spodumene. Substrate. Don't know what that is. Uranite. Water. Ore. Okay. So we have a resource load there. So that should help us when we decide to do resourcing operations there on the moon. So that is ready to go. Make sure that those make sure that those solar panels are oriented well for the sun. Make sure it's getting good power. There we are. Let's head back to Space Center. There is one other thing I want to do. I basically want to make this same satellite. I want to make this same satellite, but put a different sensor on it. And it's not going to go to the moon. It's going to go in a high Kerbal orbit. Alright, we're going to take that off. Okay. And instead, we're going to stick this thing on there. The Sentinel Infrared Telescope. And we're going to put that in orbit. And this is going to be infrared telescope. Pretty boring there, but just so that I know what it is. And let's go put this in orbit. And we don't need to worry about alignment or anything for this. I just want to put it at an orbit of maybe a couple of million meters. That should be easily achievable. And this time I'm going to try to avoid all of the twisting and twirling as we get up to altitude. I just gave it too high an angle of attack, which caused the air pressure to cause it to wobble all over the place. We don't want to go more than a few degrees off our direction of travel, or it gets squirrely. It probably needs bigger fins. Burn till that first stage runs out of gas. Alright, we are out of the atmosphere. Get rid of those guys. Deploy antennas and solar panels. We have a height of 370,000 meters. Alright. Second stage. Burn. I'm gonna push this up to about 2.5 million meters, give or take. There we go. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect. Ooh, that was close. Not exactly what I wanted to do there. Okay. That's what I want to do. Right there. Just trying to give it a little bit of thrust. Okay. There we go. Fortunately, I did not break any solar panels. That would have been bad. Alright. So now we need to do a circularization burn here. Infrared telescope. No, not just yet. Okay, there we are. 520 meters per second. I don't really know how this telescope works, so we'll figure it out. Let's go ahead and warp there. And fire. Okay. There we are. Log observation data. Well, it's only going to be 12.6 science. That's fine. Go ahead and transmit that. Log. Alright, start object tracking. Needs to be activated on a solar orbit. Oh. That we can do. Let's see. Where would I want to do that? Let's say right about there. Just eyeballing it. We should have the Delta V in the tank to achieve an ejection trajectory. Which should be fairly easy. There we go. 11 days. That should be fine. So I gotta think about the longbow, because that's getting closer and closer to Duna. Okay. We are on a solar orbit. Start object tracking. Alright. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to do for me. Because it's going to give us all these unknown objects that we could potentially rendezvous with. Maybe over time it'll give me more data. Infrared telescope. Let me actually go back fly that thing again. Can I do any kind of data collection out here? I didn't check. It doesn't appear so. No, there is. Go ahead and transmit the data. There we go. Good. Alright, so with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and head back to the Space Center and go check on the longbow, see where we're at there. Because I think for the next things I want to do, I'm going to need a giant pile of science. And I'm hoping that this Duna mission is going to get me what I need. I'm hoping that this Duna mission is going to get me what I need. There you are. Still a little ways away. But let's just check on it, make sure that everything is okay. Take a minute to load. It's a fairly large vehicle. There we go. Electric charge is fine. Monopropellant is fine. Supplies are still pretty good. We still have over 2 years, 413 days. I hope that'll be enough. If it isn't... Alright, well. I think what we're going to do is go ahead and warp to the point where we are going to be in the Duna Sphere of Influence. So I really don't have anything else to do. Except watch Duna get closer and closer. You can now distinguish Ike. All right. Let's go ahead. This is when this is going to light up. Okay. So there's our periapsis. All right. That is how long from now? 2 days, 2 hours, and 19 minutes. Till we have periapsis. All right. Let's do our crew report. You stare at the planet beneath you, trying to work out which place will be the most suitable to narrowly avoid exploding on. Indeed. All right. EVA report. Bomb's going to go ahead and take that. EVA report. Keep that. Actually, I could probably just transmit that. Okay, let's reboard. Okay, so... yeah, we get the full science from transmitting the EVA report, so we'll go ahead and transmit that for 40 science. Done. And the crew report here. Also, we'll get full value for transmitting it, so we're just going to go ahead and transmit. Alright, now, I said the one thing I wanted to look into trying was an aerobraking maneuver here at Duna, because it does have an atmosphere. It's a fairly thin atmosphere, but we should be able to use it to assist with capturing with minimal expenditure of fuel. That would be ideal. Alright, so let's just go ahead and experiment with a maneuver way out here, because the further out we do this, the less fuel we have to burn. Alright, so if I decide to slow it down, because I have the trajectories mod enabled, so I should be able to see the resultant orbit after the Aerobrake. Yeah, there it is. And yes, it is causing this thing to chug down a little bit, but how deeply into the atmosphere? Oh. Okay. So there is a capture. There is a capture. Minus 79.2. If I were to say minus 80 meters per second. Okay, there's our resultant. There's our resultant orbit. We'd have to do another small burn to get us back above the atmosphere and then do a full circularization burn. Okay. So that would have to be taken into account. Alright. How much would a full-on circularization burn cost us without the Aerobrake? We did the maneuver at periapsis. How much are we talking here? We're talking a lot. A lot of meters per second. What would I have to do to make this work? I would need to retract all of the solar panels. I would need to retract all of the solar panels and orient it so that this heat shield would be facing the incoming airstream. Just because definitely a thought here. Let me consider my options. Alright, so I have thought about it. And I've decided that we're going to go for it. We're going to do the Aerobrake. Because every single meter per second of delta V that I can save makes getting back home easier. So, that's what we're going to do. Let's add that maneuver. Negative 80 meters per second. That will burn off an absolute ton of energy. What will the resultant periapsis be? 26,000 meters. That's going to be pretty low in the atmosphere. All right. Let's make the burn happen. And I'm going to program this burn into the computers. Because of how critical this burn is to work. All right. Let's go ahead and tell it to execute the node. Hopefully the simulation is correct, because this is a lot of parts with a lot of aerodynamics that are going to be going on here as we do this maneuver, so... Alright, we're going to burn here in a few seconds. If I do this right, I may even be able to do multiple Aerobrake passes. To get us to the orbital altitude we want to be at. Alright, yeah, so, every delta V, every meter per second that I save means that I have more delta V when I eventually want to leave. The more delta V that I have when I want to leave means that I can leave earlier, which means that we strain our life support that much less. So I think that though there are inherent risks with this type of maneuver, that the benefits are worth it. So. Alright, there we are. How are we looking? It's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. All right, well, let's go ahead and warp to inside of Ike's orbit. Okay. Periapsis is in 38 minutes. All right. Let's go ahead and tell Jeb to get this thing pointed prograde. Now, if I push this button, how many solar panels retract? Come on, there we go. It looks like all of them. Except for those. Those don't retract. Okay. Can this ship power itself with just those solar panels? No. Okay. I'll make sure that we have as much power in the batteries as we can. Now, does it account for orientation? It does. Because we're going to be presenting a smaller cross section, to the airstream, we're not going to get as much benefit out of that. But as long as it allows us to capture, hopefully it's not counting these solar panels. Alright, let me go ahead and tell them to retract again. Alright, I'm even going to tell these to retract. Retract. Okay. So oriented prograde with all we won't capture. Alright, if I were to use my RCS thrusters to slow down... could I get this to capture without smacking into the surface of Duna? I just need that to loop back around. Getting there. All right, there we are. Capture. All right, then. Now I'm sure if I go ahead and re-extend those solar panels, it's going to complain. And say, you're going to crash. Yeah, I know. But the thing is that if I don't retract those solar panels, they'll rip off. And then I'll have no power. And, yeah. Okay. All right, well, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and warp to immediately before we enter the atmosphere. Like minutes before we enter the atmosphere. Warp there. Yep, it's just this is how much load that puts on the CPU. See, now it's saying it will capture, but I do not think that I want to risk putting my solar panels out there as air brakes. That seems like a really bad idea. Alright, let's go ahead and turn the lights off. Well, hold on. Once warp is done. Okay, turn the lights off. Alright, lights are turning off. How long until we enter the atmosphere? 6 minutes. Okay, let's go ahead and actually warp it forward 4 more minutes. Alright. Retract. Alright, we have a material study. I want to make sure that we actually do that in the right place. Alright, I need this material bay to be the one that we use. Observe material bay. The high radiation environment caused a few of the samples to glow. It looks like it'll be fun to paint the rocket with this. Keep that experiment, because we're going to be grabbing that and putting that in the capsule. Alright. Close those doors. Alright, let's do a crew report. Can it be Kerboformed? Maybe. Transmit the data back. Oh, that's probably a bad idea. We need to wait until, Alright. If we're quick about it, we can get this EVA done. EVA report. Keep it. Reboard. Alright, what's the trajectories mod saying now? It's saying we'll capture, but we'll be at a very high orbit. No problem. Alright, do I want to risk trying to use RCS for a maneuver here? Maybe. Let's see. If a few meters per second will make large changes, then let's take advantage of those few meters per second. While we wait for the ship to enter the I almost said Martian, the Duna atmosphere. How much monopropellant do we have left? A lot. So plenty of monopropellant to try this out. Alright, well, I'll let that be what we do. Let's go ahead and go to this Aerobrake. Let's make sure that we actually capture, and then we'll see what the second pass will do for us. Because if we don't make any adjustments, we will come back through an Aerobrake again. You know, if we get out to apoapsis here, we might be able to do a little bit of a burn, maybe using the RCS thrusters, to push us into a slightly higher periapsis so that we don't brake as hard coming around the second time. That may get us, allow us to lower our orbit a little bit more. Alright, electric charge is fine. Hopefully aerodynamic forces don't cause us to tumble. That would be another problem. If we get asymmetrical forces and we start tumbling out of control. I have the RCS on, so that should help if we get any oscillations or anything like that. So hopefully we'll be fine in that regard. All right. Well, let's go ahead and accelerate a little bit. Alright, because it should bring us down to 1-to-1 when we actually hit the upper atmosphere, which is at 50,000 meters. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a mystery goo observation. Alright. The goo looks longingly homeward. At least you think that's what it's doing. Alright, let's take a temperature scan. The temperature rise from the planet's radiation isn't as much as expected. Perhaps the greenhouse effect here is rather weak. Okay. Let's log some pressure data. Materials study, I'm not going to worry about right now because I don't have enough of those available. We'll do a crew report. Keep it. Not going to attempt an EVA report. Even though it probably should be fine. Not going to risk it. Okay. Now it says that the second pass is going to bring us down to a much lower altitude and then crash us into the planet. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to just let this go at 1-to-1 speed while we do this. I don't think I have another materials observation bay anywhere. The only one that I have is here. And I want to do that from the surface. Turn the RCS off. Alright. The orbit is changing. The orbit is changing. And it looks like that we are getting pushed off of our angle a little bit. Oh, I know. We need to make sure it's... Stay prograde. Stay prograde. Actually, it shouldn't matter. Just stay stable. Oh, we're starting to get some heating. Change of plans. Go prograde. Get that heat shield into the airflow. Hopefully nothing breaks off. Or explodes. Alright, how's our orbit starting to look? Alright, I'll turn the RCS off. We should be alright now. It is moving. Given how slowly we're already kind of running here, I don't want to do any more time advance. How long is it going to take to get to the other side here? 3 more minutes. In theory. Okay, so most of the... Alright, we are losing some ablator, but we should be okay. So most of the habitation modules should be protected behind that heat shield. These fuel tanks, this, and these guys might be a bit of a problem. These life support canisters are the big area of concern. If they have a problem, then we have a big problem. This, not so much. If we lose the return vessel, I can always just send another one back up there once we get back in Kerbal orbit. It will cause a balance issue, but you know, that's not that terrible of an issue. Okay. That is visibly moving. Something's getting a little warm there. One of our solar arrays. Not a problem. As we start to dip lower and lower and lower into the atmosphere, we decelerate faster and faster. Alright, a couple more of the rays are heating up a bit. If we lose one or two of those, it isn't the end of the world. I think if we lose two of them, I think we can lose up to two of them, yeah. Because we have these two spares here. Much more than that, and I think we'll be in trouble. Yeah, see that's 3 minutes at like regular speed. But given that everything is running just so slow. Alright. Well, what I may do here is cut the recording here. I kind of hate to do that, but I don't know how much longer this is going to take. We're already getting over an hour for this episode. And it could be another 10 minutes that we sit in here in this aerobrake maneuver. Who knows? We haven't quite hit periapsis yet. Time to periapsis is 3 seconds. Well, 3 seconds in real time. 2 seconds. So once we're at periapsis, that's going to be the worst of it. Then we should begin rising back up in altitude, which we are. .4 seconds. Alright. It's been a lot longer than 8 seconds. We still don't have a capture yet, but it's getting there. If I were to present more surface area, I could adjust that. I don't necessarily want to do that. Alright, well, I think I'll go ahead at this particular point, because we're past the danger point. So, nothing's broken. I don't think anything is going to break. So, yeah. I'll go ahead and pause here, and then when we're back, we'll be back outside the atmosphere. And I think I'll probably call it a day there. And then when we come back for next episode, we'll see about the second aerobrake maneuver. And then I might go ahead and disable this mod again because, you know, it It's very useful. It just causes performance problems, as you can see. Alright, so yeah, I will be right back in a second. Alright, we are out of the atmosphere. And if we look at our resultant orbit, it is not far off from what the mod was saying it would be. And one thing I noticed here is that our unmanned probe is missing. It must have had another encounter with Ike and must have crashed. That's unfortunate. Oh well. And one thing I did do is I did go ahead and grab that EVA report from the upper atmosphere when I was like at 45,000 meters, so there wasn't too much risk there. We still need an EVA report. Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead and an EVA report here. EVA report. Keep it. Reboard. Alright, we need to get those solar panels re-extended. And we can do another EVA report. Interesting. We must be getting different biomes. That's actually pretty nice. Another thing we can do, actually, because I should be able to recover some more science, let's go ahead and say, do another mystery goo observation. Come on. Do another mystery goo observation. We should be able to get more science from recovering like 40 more science, which is nothing to sneeze at. We should also be able to get barometric pressure data. Keep that. An additional 25 science. Hold on. And there should be an attendant thermometer. Log temperature data. Another 16.8 science that we can recover because we transmitted all that data before from the unmanned probe. But if we recover that data directly, we can get additional science out of it. Alright, come on. Yeah, things are really starting to chug down here. Close it. Alright. So now what I want to do is go ahead and transmit all this stuff home. Review report. Transmit. And I should have a whole bunch of EVA reports I can transmit home. Transmit that home. Oh, I must have just missed that biome. It's alright. Well, plenty of opportunities. Alright. So, we'll go ahead and end this episode here. And next episode, we're going to look into that next Aerobrake, or see what it would take to circularize this orbit at an altitude that I can work with. So yeah, I'll have to evaluate that off screen. But for now, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Go ahead, like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you next time.